Hey, hey, hey! It's Friday night and it's time for All In!
Thank fuck it's Friday. Literally. Although time does move so quickly now. The week just goes zoop and then you're on to Friday again. Because it only feels like yesterday that we were doing this. I was talking to I had a hygienist appointment this morning, and I walked in there, and I mean, I've been seeing them for years, and she was like, "It's you again. You come with the seasons," because I see her every 3 months. It's like, I can't believe it's you again. What the hell? I don't know what's wrong with time, whether it's the Earth moving fast. Apparently, the Earth is moving like a millisecond faster or something, but it seems like it's, I don't know. And everybody's noticing the same thing. I thought maybe it was because I was getting old, but
no, it's not you. Everybody else noticing it.
But even kids as well, because I mean, when I was a kid, time used to drag. We used to go on these 2.5-hour drives with my dad, and it literally felt like a week and a half.
Right. Bloody hell. That was some intro from Ed, wasn't it, people?
I'll shut up now. Get back in my box.
Right. So, good evening to the troll room. Dread Eye, Julie, Paul Armstrong, Yorkshire Lad. Hey up, Yorkshire Lad. Espresso Mechanic TV. I wonder if we'll get anyone over on the vertical stream, because we stream on two sides now. We do it both ways, as they say. We've nobody chatting on the vertical
The less said about you, the better.
But there are
it's all that time in France.
I don't know if there's people there or not, but I think we're streaming on the vertical stream. Yeah, we appear to be. Anyway, who cares? I'll keep an eye on the chat there as well, so we'll see how that goes. Right. So, Ed, what a week! What a weekend we have. Dread Eye. Oh, Dread Eye's on the vertical stream as well. Hi, Dread Eye.
We're in. I mean, it's just mental. It's March. We've done a show. We've done an all-in. Well, you've done. I mean, apart from last week when I couldn't make it,
we've done two rabbit holes
every week.
Yeah,
and every single week it seems to get more batshit crazy.
It does. You're right.
It's. I don't know if it's building up to some sort of batshit crescendo or something.
A crescendo.
Although we need less bats, that's for sure. Especially Chinese bats.
Right, Duncan down that route. Bloody hell, you're right. You're right grumpy today. Let's
No, I'm not. I'm in an excellent mood. It's Friday.
Right.
Survived another week.
Let's get this.
Got the order from my dentist, so it's all good.
Shall we get the slides rolling? Shall we?
Let's kick it off, man.
Let's kick the. Hold on a minute. My slides have gone awry. Why have my slides gone awry? I need a producer. What the? Right, hold on. I had them all queued up nicely so that you couldn't see the white bit. Right. Let's make them slightly bigger, and let's see if we can. Yes. Take out that white bit. Take out that white bit.
You can see the production happening live on air. There's not many shows that show you there.
The secrets behind the scenes. You get it all here, people. Warts and all. And the two biggest warts are those two on the left-hand side of the screen.
Yep, that's hello.
Hello, wart 1, wart 2. Right. Anyway, let's carry on. So yeah, let's talk about something that happened towards the beginning of the week. The Portuguese flag that is so long just appeared to ram a tanker, right, which just happened to be full of Jet A1 for the American planes, I guess. Now, I don't know where the Jet A1 was going. Was it going to or from the UK? But I mean, there's plenty of US planes all over Europe, so could have been going anywhere. And
well, I mean, it was it was going south when it.
No, it wasn't going anywhere. It was stationary when the thing hit it.
Oh right, no, it was the Portuguese one that hit it. I mean, ultimately it's in the North Sea, so it could be going to any port in the UK, any port in Europe.
That's the the Portuguese cargo vessel there, it came off pretty well compared to the tanker. Mind you, it did hit the tanker amidships, I think.
Well, yeah, and the Portuguese cargo vessel wasn't carrying fucking jet fuel.
Well, remember, jet fuel's just kerosene stroke paraffin, without the...
Yeah, but it's more because it's super flammable.
It's not super flammable. It's not any more flammable than kerosene or paraffin. Just what it does have.
Why do they put it? Why do they use that in jets instead of
because
just
it's got all the particulates taken out of it, so it doesn't clog up the engine.
Right. Oh yeah, because you need that for a jet engine.
Yeah. The
afterburners and ting.
Yeah. No, but the last thing you want when you're flying your little jet above the 30,000 feet above the Atlantic is for your engines to get clogged up.
That would be bad.
If your injectors get clogged up. Yeah. So there you go.
I don't know about this one. This sort of has some echoes of the Baltimore Bridge incident. Not in the sense that it was the same incident. I mean, obviously it's a ship hitting something, but it's more. The main question is: was there something involved in this that meant that this wasn't a natural? This wasn't just an accident, or was it just an accident?
Right.
I don't know.
Right. If we go back to the Baltimore Bridge one, I having spent my due diligence going through it all and digging around, I am pretty much 100% guaranteed in my own mind that the Baltimore Bridge thing was a pure accident. Right? If you're going to take out a bridge, there are much easier ways of doing it than trying to arrange for a cargo ship to lose power at exactly the right time for it then to turn, and then for the power to come on at exactly the right time for the captain to give it enough power for the screw to then cork the front end round just in time for it to hit. Yeah, it was like coincidence after coincidence after coincidence. So the Baltimore Bridge one was definitely an accident, right? And then nothing happened after it. America didn't economically dive down or anything. No more bridge. They tried to report them, but after every big incident like this, there's always a surfeit of reports of ships hitting ships, and there was a couple of smaller ones, but nothing big. So it wasn't the start of something. It wasn't coordinated. It was a pure and utter accident. This, however.
So what about this one then?
This ship just went straight into the other ship. It didn't deviate. It didn't slow down. It just plowed straight into it. So we have a couple of conclusions we can make. One, somebody was asleep at the wheel, right? And that's a possibility. Because these big cargo ships, they run with what? They run with a really low crew. They'll have like 12 people. And a lot of times, but having said that, in the North Sea, they should know better. I mean, the North Sea's full of oil rigs and other ships and ferries.
The thing is, I mean, the North Sea they have special rules in place because it is one of the busiest waterways in the world. Yeah. They also have all sorts of backup systems. They have radar. They've got the equivalent of air traffic controllers that are monitoring the ships. I mean, yes, a person asleep at the helm is a possibility, but sure, I mean, ships have collision avoidance. Well, not avoidance, but they have collision alerts. So you would get a loud beeping if.
Yeah, to me, this one's a bit weird. It's a bit, especially when you consider the actors in it, if you will, i.e., the ship full of U.S. cargo, military cargo, and
Russian captain,
and the
and just the name of the ship. I mean, so long and goodbye. I mean, what the fuck?
I'm quite happy to put the ship name down to coincidence, right? But yeah.
I think this is one of David Lammy's ideas.
Nectar just comes up with corset on auto. That, of course, that's possible as well. But it's just a weird one. It's a weird one. Now, the question is, who benefits from this? does Russia benefit? Is this Russia sending a signal back to the US that you want to cut pipelines and cables and things? We can do it too.
How does Russia benefit from it?
It just sends a signal.
I don't.
Suppose. I'm not necessarily saying is Russia benefiting. That light's annoying
But
me.
the thing is that when we're in a. I told you it was going to be annoying. I told you.
I don't know if it was annoying.
We do apologise, audience.
Is that annoying you, people?
But I mean, the thing is that. Off.
Right.
God, you're as annoying as a fucking seagull sometimes.
Give me a sardine.
I mean, the thing about this story. Story is that it just given the kind of fine balance that the world is in at the moment, and we've got Trump making overtures to Putin and the Russians kind of standing their ground, it just doesn't benefit them. I mean, it's more likely to be some crazy ass Whitehall MOD MI6 nonsense plan. Oh, look, there's a Russian. It's just, I mean, it's a kind of idiocy. If there is some unseen hand behind all of this, then it's definitely got a Union Jack on it, because honestly, only the British government is stupid enough.
You know what, Ed? On this occasion, I'm with you, mate. I think if anyone, as you said, if there's a hidden hand behind this one and it's not an accident, then I think it's definitely six that's involved here, because what you've got is a feeble attempt by the UK to maybe drag America back into supporting Ukraine.
I mean, in my opinion, I don't know, maybe it was Ukrainian hackers that did it. They're stupid and desperate enough.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't.
Let's move on, because otherwise we'll just end up talking about this bloody thing for all evening.
Yeah.
Plus, it's been like 5 days since that happened. That was in the news cycle for.
Well, I mean, we're covering the week, right? So this is obviously Kursk, and
I think that picture just speaks for itself.
Well, right. What this is the pipeline. So this is the cover story, and if you joined later, you'll have missed a little the new music that started the show off with the pipeline tribute band. Anyway, so what we have here, and you saw the video, you saw the Russian soldiers in the pipeline, you saw them wheeling their kit about, you saw them having their dinner and everything. So they were having a grand old time. And yet what we have here is Ukraine footage that was classified yesterday. The pipe leading to Sudza is filled with bodies. The idea of the Russian command seemed successful, but turned into a disaster. 15 kilometers of travel without fresh air, saturated with methane. For many, this became a one-way trip. So the Ukraine,
nonsense.
Yeah, no. Ukraine's propaganda is that 800 Russian soldiers went into that pipeline, and less than 100 came out. Now, my question has to be, why then did you fucking run away like little girls? If you're Ukrainian, tell me, why did your men all just run away if there was less than 100 Russians come out the pipeline?
I mean, the simple fact of the matter in this whole Russia-Ukraine thing is that the only advantage that the Ukrainians have got, and the only thing that they are any good at, is media manipulation and controlling the narrative.
Yeah,
literally, it's the only thing that they've got going for them. And all of this, it's all it's the same. It's the same as Zelensky trying to claim that there's only 40,000 Ukrainian casualties. I mean, it's just at this point, okay, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, people were falling for their nonsense, but I just don't think it washes anymore. And as you said, they've lost Kursk. I mean, the amount of ground that they occupy. Ukrainians are surrounded. Trump is begging Putin to spare the Ukrainians that are trapped in Kursk. And I mean, Putin's had the whole thing before, so I very much doubt that.
I think Russia's been quite fair. They've said if the Ukrainians that are stuck in Kursk put down their weapons and surrender, then they'll be treated as prisoners of war. If they
from the mercenaries,
if they no, they didn't say that, and they also said that if they don't put down their weapons and continue fighting, then they will be eliminated. Simple as that. So I mean,
yeah, but they've also said separately.
Yeah, don't mention that. Don't mention that. Not on this. Okay. You got to remember where you are.
Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, mate. I know. But yes, they have said that, and I think most of us know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
So, as you know, Trump, and I'm not quite. I've got a theory that might or might not be of any benefit to anyone. So I'll talk about it once we get to it. But as you know, Trump's administration has negotiated with Ukraine and got them to accept that the idea of a 30-day ceasefire is fine, right? And Ukraine have gone along with it. And they have put forward the proposal to Russia. And of course, in 3 years, we have never seen Putin, I think maybe once, but generally in 3 years, we've seen Putin in nothing but a suit. So the day after that, the day after after they finished their negotiations and said they were going to put this proposal to Russia, Putin went to Kursk to visit his troops, didn't he? And what did he turn up in? Full military gear.
Yep.
I think that kind of answered the question straight away, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It's a very. I mean, the thing is that the Russians are very subtle, but also very meaningful. They don't put words in statements without every single word having some sort of meaning. And they don't do stuff like this. He's literally, Putin has been in a suit the entire special military operation, and he's been to he's met with troops, he's been here and there and everywhere, and he's always done it in a suit. And so this is the Russians sending a message. And the simple fact is that the Americans have no cards, the Ukrainians have no cards, and they're sitting at a poker table with Putin that's essentially got a royal flush.
Yeah. And Trump's sitting there with a pair of aces or something like that and thinks he's got the bollocks. But but Zelensky's got a 5 high.
And I mean, ultimately, given if you look at the actual history rather than the nonsense that the media spews, and you have a real grasp of what's been going on there for the last 20 odd years, it's the Russians have been burned before. They're burned in Istanbul. They're burned in Minsk.
Minsk 3, yeah.
And they've made it very clear what their terms are. And the West seems to be laboring under this mistaken impression that the losing side in a war gets to dictate terms to the winning side in the war.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand that one.
But it's also Eve Smith from Naked Capital, which is a site that everybody should be visiting. Has made a really good point many times over, repeated by other commentators ad infinitum, that the thing that the Europeans always do and the Americans is they sit and they talk to each other endlessly about some sort of peace agreement, and they all come to an agreement, but they don't include the Russians. And this whole notion that you can have one side agrees on a deal and then just presents it to the other side as a fait accompli. That might work if you're talking about a little country in Africa or Asia or Vanuatu or somewhere like that, but not when it comes to Russia. And
yeah,
I mean, I think it's good the world has that balance back. I think when the Soviet Union collapsed, this whole unipolar America, fuck yeah, kind of thing that we had was not good for the world.
Team America, World Police, yeah.
Absolutely.
America.
And there has to be a counterbalance. And now we have that counterbalance in the form of Russia and to a certain extent China. And we have Donald Trump and one of the few good things that Rubio said, because I'm not that impressed with Rubio, I have to say. But he actually acknowledged that we're in a multipolar world now.
Yeah, Rubio did. Right. So since then, Trump's imposed. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's move on to the next slide, because what happens there is we got the Russian response officially, and Putin did put down a few.
New donation from Nick Tariffs.
Thank you, Nick Tariffs. Donation from my man Nick Tariffs. Thank you. Right, McNeil's TV's back in the vertical, and so is Gunky Fadges. Excellent. Right. So the Mr. Putin put down some conditions on agreeing a 30-day ceasefire. One, Ukraine will not mobilize, so that means stop recruitment, not train soldiers, and not receive weapons. Russia is willing to end all hostilities, given that talks on permanent peace begins immediately. We also have to discuss strength. The Russian army is advancing on all fronts while the Ukrainians are losing. What is in it for us? Will Ukraine respect the new territories we hold? Well, I think we've had an answer back from Ukraine about that, and they've said no, they won't respect it. And how would the contact line be resolved? And we know that the Europeans are desperate to get in there, but I think Russia has ruled out anyone under, regardless of the flag they fly, if they are from a NATO nation state, then that's not acceptable to Mr. Putin. Now, and on the back of that, it appears that Mr. Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, has said...
Rutte?
Yeah, Rutte or whatever. But he has said that NATO membership...
Good luck here.
He has said that NATO membership for Ukraine is out of the question. He has ruled it out.
Hij is zo'n godverdomde lul. Je houdt het echt niet voor mogelijk. Sorry.
So,
I just had to revert to my Dutch. The Dutch half just had to have it say there for a minute.
He has said that NATO membership for Ukraine is out of the question. So that's something. If he sticks to it,
he's such a poodle. He was a diabolical Dutch Prime Minister, absolute wef toady.
Yeah.
And now he's a NATO toady.
Yeah.
And it's all just a big club. It's like, one of the worst decisions that they ever made was to put the EU and NATO in the same city. Because it's just it's like a revolving door from one to the other. And Rutte, they serve their globalist masters faithfully, and they go against the will of their people. And then when they leave office, they end up with a bloody job like Secretary General of NATO, or you get to work for Tony Blair or Prince Harry or one of these other bastards.
Soldier says, buy me a coffee, won't accept your... Is it Kofi you're going to, or buy me a coffee? Don't go to buy me a coffee. I don't know where you got that one from. We don't use that anymore. It's Kofi. K, like you see on screen. And they should accept your card details. If not, send me a DM and I'll send you my bank details and you can steal my money. Should we release the Ukrainian armed forces from the Kursk region after so many crimes against civilians? Ooh, should we just let them walk out and nothing happens? Ooh, there's the fighting talk. And who would enforce such a ceasefire? All very unclear. In the end, thanks for the offer, Don, but we're going to pass just now. We're going to pass. And, you knew it was coming.
Sure, but if you listen to Putin's actual statement, there's videos of it all over Twitter. You get an idea of what a proper statesman and diplomat actually sounds like, because it's a classic example of Russian statecraft because they choose their words so carefully. And he said, yeah, no, we're totally up for ceasefire. Yeah, let's end the war. But then everything that comes after the but is actually what he wants to really say. But as you could, the section on the right of the screen, to me, is the quote is the quote of the week from good old Sergei. We're not interested in the European position at all. There's a great meme floating around. It's in two sections, and both of them have Tucker Carlson on the left. And in both of them, he says, "What do you think of the Europeans?" And on the top one, you've got Putin with this speech bubble that's just literally filled with text, this microscopic font size. And then the bottom one below that is Lavrov with the speech bubble, and it just says morons.
Lavrov made her laugh in that video, and you can see him looking at her going, "Still got it. I've still got it."
The thing about Lavrov is that he's underestimated massively by the West, but he's certainly the best living diplomat, but he's one of the best diplomats that the world has ever seen, frankly.
Oh yeah. You can't fault the guy. He's got tons of experience, and he's funny and appropriate with it, and very gentlemanly about it. The way he goes about it.
Sure. I thought the interview that he did with Judge Knapp and Larry Johnson was brilliant because it kind of brings him out, and they let him talk, and he spent, I think he was talking for 90% of it, but you actually understand where these people are coming from, what makes them tick, and you think, hang on, I'd actually prefer having him in Whitehall than David Lammy, please.
Hell,
if you compare Sergei Lavrov and David Lammy, there's no comparison.
No,
it can't be done.
Just like comparing something like a Rhodesian Ridgeback to a Chihuahua. Anyway, so let's talk about the sanctions, because Trump has doubled down on sanctions. Well, he hasn't doubled down because, let's face it, Biden applied something in the region of 24,000 sanctions on Russia. So Russia is the most sanctioned country in the world, I believe, currently at the moment.
It's got a higher GDP growth. It's got a higher growth rate.
Year on year for the last 2 years, it's posted a 4% growth rate, which is better than the UK. And it's better than Germany, which is in fucking recession.
To be honest, it's better than most of the rest of the most of the G7 put together.
Yeah. So, but anyway, these sanctions that Trump has applied were the ones that Biden hadn't applied, because these sanctions are going to cost Europe money. These are going to hurt Europe, because Europe was still getting gas and oil from Russia, because let's face it, America can't supply it with everything we need. And we still needed gas and oil to keep ourselves ticking over. Now, although we were buying it from Russia, or still buying it from Russia, and when I say we, I mean Europe, not necessarily just the UK. Although we were buying it from Russia, we were paying an inflated price because of the sanctions. But now that he's actually sanctioning gas and oil, our prices are going to go up, because we're going to have to get it from further away.
Inevitably, they will go up a bit, but it's don't overestimate the particular set of sanctions he's applied. Is essentially closing off the Russian banks from the remaining Russian banks that were still able to use SWIFT and stuff. Mm-hmm. But for the vast majority,
that was so that Europeans could buy gas and oil.
Yeah,
that's why they were there.
But the actual amount of the amount of gas and oil they've been buying that way is actually relatively small, because most of, particularly the oil that Europe is buying, they're buying from India, which is still Russian oil.
Yeah,
the Indians are just making money on it. So it's not like these sanctions are going to cut off Europe. But the thing that I just find
they're going to cost Europe more than Russia. Well, yeah. They're not going to cause Russia any problem. They're going to cause Europe problems, because maybe
Trump's doing it to actually hurt Europe. Maybe he's trying to give Europe a spank. I don't know.
Well, that actually does bring us on to a point that I maybe want to make. Because Trump's not a neocon. We know that. Yeah? He's not a globalist. Okay? And what the actions he's doing in applying these sanctions and having these tariff wars, and maybe I'm giving him too much credit here, but is he actively encouraging countries to stand on their own 2 feet and not trade exclusively with other countries to get things that they need? So, because of all these tariff wars and the rising cost of goods from abroad, everybody's going to have to look inside first. So maybe they reactivate some of the things that they used to do themselves. Like, for instance, Rheinmetall's talking about using Volkswagen factories to start making arms and stuff like that. So is Trump actually, through these sanctions, making us less global?
Well, the thing is that the tariffs existed before Trump started imposing them. I mean, the European Union, if you look at Canadian tariffs against certain American products,
they did.
European Union tariffs. I mean, tariffs are just...
Yeah, but Trump's doubled down on tariffs. Trump's put in tariffs against things like steel and aluminium and whiskey. And, Trump he's putting tariffs against everything, against wine and fucking champagne coming from Europe now.
Well, he's looked back on history, and the period of history that the United States was the most prosperous, where they built up the economy that they then used to fight the Second World War, was a period where it was before income tax, because income tax in the US didn't come in until the Federal Reserve came into being. And before that, the US government was actually financed through tariffs. So I think his idea is to go back to that. And to be honest, maybe he's also looked at Russia and the impact that the sanctions had on Russia, because they effectively forced Russia to do everything themselves.
That's what I'm saying.
Is
he effectively making us less global? Is he doing this deliberately to sabotage globalism, to sabotage the neocons? Because he's making Europe rely on themselves. He's making America rely on itself. He's making Canada rely on itself. Is he doing it deliberately? That's the question.
Well, your guess is as good as mine as far as the answer goes.
Yeah, I know.
But I think that there are things that Trump is doing that are good, and that I agree with, and there's things that he's doing that I don't agree with. Yeah. But ultimately, if he's doing what he's doing in the interests of what he thinks is best for the United States, then he's doing a hell of a lot better than any bloody European leader, because there is not a single European leader that gives a time. Well, maybe Orban and Fico, but European leaders don't give a shit about their own people.
I can't trust Orban. I just cannot trust him. Something about
him. Well, I've never met the man, but I agree with the stance that Hungary has been taking, and also Hungary's having to walk a tightrope because
I don't trust him, and I don't trust Erdogan either.
Oh, I definitely don't trust Erdogan.
Yeah.
Absolutely don't trust Erdogan. I like Fico, the Slovakian chap. I don't know. He just seems like just a down to earth guy trying to do the best for his country, and
so
it's
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
Well, I was just going to say, did you see when Putin made his statement about gracefully turning down the offer of the ceasefire? Did you see who was sitting beside him when he said, "No, we will not have a repeat of Minsk 3"?
Oh, our man Lukashenko.
Yeah, from Belarus, which is
I love that
where
guy.
Minsk is.
He's the thing with Lukashenko. I said this on Twitter earlier, that he won me over during the Rona when he said that the best cure for it was vodka and saunas. And guess what? He was right.
Well,
and Belarus, I mean, well, the thing with Belarus is that it's Belarus. They're White Russians. I don't quite know why they're the White Russians, but there's some historical thing. But they've always, they've always had a very close relationship with Russia. And Lukashenko, he just strikes me as someone that speaks his mind, and he's got principles, and he's trying to do the best for his country. This to me is, it's my new, and it's the yardstick of whether a leader of a country is a good one or a bad one. And it doesn't necessarily matter whether they're a good or a bad person, or whether they're honest or whatever. Are they doing what they feel is best for the country, or are they doing what they feel is best for themselves?
Oh, that's interesting. You'd think you even knew what the next slide was going to be, wouldn't you? Anyway. So how's this one going? We will exchange the Kursk region for Ukrainian territories when it comes to that.
They don't have a Kursk region anymore. The Green Goblin is literally...
That statement was only made on the 23rd of February. That's less than a month ago.
That was the whole thing about Kursk. They wanted to capture a nuclear power plant so that they could ransom it or something, and use that to get territory back. So they committed loads of forces that they could have used to defend other more important parts of their own country. And now the whole bloody 2,000 kilometer front line is collapsing against the Ukrainians, and the Russians are just stomp, stomp, stomp.
Will do, soldier. Will do, mate. Zelensky has quite quietly promised the British control over Odessa's 8 ports, where British special services have arrived, planning to establish a naval base there. Another provocative action signalling that NATO has no interest in a peaceful resolution to the war in Ukraine. I don't know how accurate or true that one is, because I can't see NATO... Well, I can't see Russia agreeing to that. No way. And did you see what happened in the Odessa today? With the recruiter being terminated with extreme prejudice. Did you actually see the video? That was cold.
It's a dead NAZI, and oh dear, how sad. Never mind.
And the guy gave himself up, apparently. Please.
And Odessa, Odessa is practically a more Russian city than Moscow. I mean, it holds the same sort of place in the hearts of Russians as St. Petersburg and Moscow and it's just one of those places that I don't. And the thing about the British government is they've been wanting a presence on the Black Sea for 200 years because they're obsessed with the Russians, and this Russophobic obsession that our ruling class has got is going to be our downfall.
Yeah. Oh no, I know.
And I mean, as far as the story goes, I absolutely believe that the Green Goblin has done some sort of deal with the Brits, and because apparently that 100-year agreement that they signed has secret codicils that both sides acknowledge but refuse to divulge. Oh yeah, this is one I sent you.
Yeah,
this is it. This essentially just sums up.
It does.
Certainly the last 20 years of my life, at least since I started diving down rabbit holes. And I started off with a certain amount of trust in government and police and authorities and stuff. And the more you learn, the more you realize they're all just duplicitous bastards, and you just can't trust any of them.
I'm pretty much right out there on the x-axis.
Yeah, I to be honest, I think I've gone off the other side of the page, and I'm now into negative trust territory.
So here we go. This is what I was talking about earlier. Volkswagen are ready to convert factories into weapons production. The German defense giant Rheinmetall, defense giant, as it now, says it could take over idle Volkswagen factories and use them. So they're
going to run on windmills?
Well, hold on a minute. But only a month ago or something like that, Volkswagen announced that they were closing 3 factories.
The thing is that
thousands of people were losing their jobs.
The world seemed, certainly a lot of the Western world, large chunks of the Western media seem to be trapped in some sort of World War II time bubble, because this notion that a modern, I mean, okay, old factories that were making Model T Fords or some of the simpler types of vehicles that existed in the 1920s and 30s, those sorts of factories, you could retool them and change them over for war production. But modern car factories are so specifically designed to make vehicles like cars that, like, converting it over to suddenly start making tanks or whatever, it's not as easy as people might think it is. And the other thing that nobody is taking into account is the raw materials. It's like our own idiotic government saying we need to build up our defense industry. Now, the thing that defense industries tend to use most of is steel. If you don't produce your own steel, it's so idiotic.
Any steel plants left? I mean, we just shut Port Talbot.
No. Britain has this pie in the sky idea for recycling steel using electric arc furnaces.
Oh God!
But the national grid just said no, because we don't have the fucking electricity for it. It's this whole net zero green watermelon idiocy. I mean, I can't get over how stupid these people are.
But I mean, and the thing is, with Trump's sanctions on Russian oil and gas, which is going to drive up prices regardless, another 5% globally, they reckon. So with Trump's prices on that, it's either going to force Germany into full-blown recession, and probably us as well, or we're going to have to start binning net zero.
It needs to go in.
Net zero is a luxury that we cannot afford.
But it's not even a luxury. It's not a necessity. We don't need net
zero. I know
zero.
that. You know that. But, the normies think that we're burning up,
Well, that's because of the media, again. I mean, of all of the different bad actors we've got in the world, the ones that my extra poisonous venom is reserved for is the media. BBC, CNN, The Guardian, The Times, all these journalists, people like John Simpson, Steve Rosenberg, the Guardian correspondent in Moscow. I despise them with the passionate fury of 1,000 exploding stars. Right, let's move on.
Moving on. Well, let's stay with Volkswagen. Volkswagen sold more sausages than cars last year. The group sold more currywurst units than cars as profits after tax fell 30%. That's almost a third.
And you wouldn't think that Volkswagen would make sausages, but they actually do. I think it started with their cafeterias, and the sausages were so popular that they started actually producing them and selling them. So yeah, Volkswagen sausages. Das Wurst.
I like him. I like currywurst. There's nothing better than a couple of currywurst and chips with extra curry sauce.
I like bratwurst. I like currywurst. I like frankfurters. I like the Dutch frikandel as well, which are
I like that
different
as well
from all the others.
Yeah, the pork burger things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love
but nobody likes sausages as much as our dear leader.
He says sausages.
But the story, I mean, it segues perfectly from the other one. Look, they're selling more sausages than cars, and you want them to suddenly start making tanks. Fuck off. Just
hold on. It's like just quickly. What should I do? Yeah.
It's Friday night and we're all the return of the sausages. Stands tall in the hole of debate. Ceasefire for Gaza, but wait, don't forget, he's calling for peace and the return of taste. Those sausages stolen, gotta bring them back in haste. Ceasefire and sausages.
I couldn't resist it. Sorry, I couldn't resist it. Ceasefire and sausages.
No, it's fine. We can always have a little musical interlude.
Oh, I do love the sausage.
It's yeah. I mean, I wonder if
Don't
Keith
say
actually,
anything. I'll make another video.
no, I just wonder if Keith actually understands just how many people are either cursing him or laughing at him, or cursing at him and laughing at him in this country. Because I don't know anyone that likes him.
I don't think I could take it, knowing that the entire country hated me. Oh, mind you, I probably could, because I'm pretty sure most of the people watching us hate me.
He seems to hate his own country.
People used to send me messages saying, "Would you shut up and let Ed speak?" And I'd say, "No, it's my show." Oh,
Done.
God. Anyway, yeah. I mean, do you think they tell him, or do they keep it from him?
He looks like one of those people that is all nice in front of people that he has to impress, and then in the background when nobody's looking, I bet he treats his staff like shit.
And his wife and all that. Yeah, that's probably why she left him.
There's just something. There's something fake and plastic and kind of. I don't know. He reminds you of those TV bad guys who are not competent at anything but make up for it in their maliciousness.
Yeah.
And the ability to stab people in the back and just not give a shit. And I don't know. He's just. Let's move on before I say something that'll get myself into proper trouble.
Okay. Right. Where are we? Moving on. I tried to make our country a better place, says Nicola, as she announces her retirement from politics completely. She's not going to stand. Now, you sent me that fat picture, right?
I think that was photoshopped.
I think it's been doctored. I really do. Because seaweed is still, although pretty bad looking, she's not quite as fat as that. But
the thing is that picture is going to do the rounds, and not many people have seen her. So you'd think it was real, and then she's going to cotton onto it, and her fragile little ego is not going to like that at all.
You're not going to like it. Not going to like it.
And it's that quote from C.S. Lewis about tyranny. I'm actually going to pull it up and I'm going to read it to everybody because it's...
Stand by, be your beds. Ed.
No, it's not long. Look, we're not talking. Look, we're not going down the Lovecraftian rabbit hole anymore. Never doing that again. I promise you. It's a really short quote, but it's super relevant.
Good. Go on then. Go on.
I'm just pulling it up. Of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. It would be better to live under robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep. His cupidity may at some point be satiated, but those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience. They may be more likely to go to heaven, yet at the same time likelier to make a hell of earth. This very kindness stings with intolerable insult. To be cured against one's will and cured of states which we may not regard as disease is to be put on a level with those who have not yet reached the age of reason, or those who never will, to be classed with infants, imbeciles, and domestic animals. And that is how these assholes treat us. Indeed. And that's when she says, I tried to make my country a better place. That's exactly what she's talking about.
Well, I actually just replied to her on Twitter and I said, for whom, Nicola? For whom? That is the question. Because it wasn't for fucking us. It wasn't for the normal people.
And you know what? after what she's done to Scotland, she freaking deserves to have some Photoshopper do a really good job of making her look fat, and then have that picture go more viral than her actual real picture.
Speaking of making Scotland a better place, do you remember those ferries that took longer than the fucking aircraft carriers to build?
Cost more too, didn't they?
Yeah.
Did they cost more?
Arran ferry out of service due to cracked hull. That
And
doesn't sound inexpensive.
But didn't they just go back into service after having lots of problems with their electrical systems or something?
Yeah, they broke down on its thing.
Listen, it's so barking mad that I just can't. I cannot accept that I'm actually in the same universe that I was born in, because it just seems to be getting more stupid, or someone's gone back and screwed with it or something. I just don't. This green obsession is absurd. It's absurdity to the point of insanity.
I mean, the whole thing's a travesty, because I think they're getting 2 ferries from Turkey built in less than half the time for less than half the money.
And also, there have been a lot of advances in marine diesel engines and exhaust cleaning and recycling and stuff. And I'm not taking, I mean, CO2, the planet needs more CO2. We're in a CO2 drought. So the more CO2 there is, the better. Well, that's why greenhouses pump CO2 in, because the amount of CO2 is not optimal for plants.
I believe commercial greenhouses run at 1,200 parts per million.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anyway, so
and nobody dies. And remember, just while we're on the subject of CO2 levels, do you know that the average CO2 level in a submarine is around about 5,000 parts per million? Much the same as it is on the ISS. And those 2 astronauts are still up there, the ones that went up for 9 days, and have now been there for 9 months. So I think we're still waiting.
It's quite serious for one of them. The lady, I can't remember what her name is. She's actually got she's experiencing health issues.
Yeah.
Because of it. I'm not sure exactly what the issues are, but I know that she's.
Yes.
It would be better for her to come back down, and she's probably going to have a lot of problems when she does come back down.
Yeah, she no doubt she will. I think I don't understand it though, because I'm pretty sure that they could have brought them down a lot earlier than this. You know, why didn't they just ask SpaceX to send up a Dragon Crew capsule?
Well, Elon Musk actually offered.
Yeah.
And because of all the politics involved from the same people that are currently torching Teslas, thinking that. Anyway, let's not go to that one just yet. But Biden refused because it's Musk. And so now they're.
Stupid.
Well, Trump, as soon as Trump came in, he gave him the order to do it. But I mean, unfortunately, you can't just do these things. And they have the Dragon capsule. So SpaceX is capable of doing it. But to actually do something unplanned when it comes to space travel, which it also kind of reinforces Musk's thing about reusable rockets and that whole particular journey. But ultimately, it's just politics. This is the thing about politicians. They are so quick. Yeah. It's more important for them to play politics than it is to think about people's lives. They don't give a shit about the astronauts.
So somebody mentioned on Twitter that these people have been up there for 9 months and they were only meant to be there for 9 days. How are there enough supplies for them to eat? And I'm thinking, because their automated supply ships go up to the ISS all the time. In fact, the last one that was there, I think, was March the 3rd. And that was, guess who sent that one up? Guess who?
Elon?
No.
Oh, Bezos. Russia.
A progress supply module delivered to the ISS on March the 3rd.
And that, you know what? To me, that actually speaks volumes about the Russian character and about the stupidity of the West. Because if it was the other way around, there have been Russian passengers stranded in European airports because of the weather and not given any help or food or water or anything else. There's Russian ships needing water that refused entry to European ports. And if that had been the other way around, if it had been a Russian space station that was in trouble, and the Europeans were the only ones that could help, they wouldn't have done it. Yeah. Whereas the Russians would still do it.
And that reminds me, there was a security alert in Mogadishu the other day that the American embassy put out saying that American personnel and civilians should avoid the airport and bars and restaurants and things and not travel, because there was a high chance of terrorist activity. And the government, the
Mogadishu.
Yeah, Mogadishu. Yeah, Somali.
One would think that. No, one would think that was
it's calmed down
standard warning for Mogadishu.
It's calmed down a bit, but the Somalian government refuted the embassy's warning, and then something like 3 days later, there was a terrorist shooting in a hotel. So yeah, I think the Americans got that one right. But yeah, so apparently there were. Apparently, Turkey stopped flying in and out of Mogadishu, so there were quite a few Turkish tourists and things stuck there. I don't know why you would go to Mogadishu. Would you go there? Would you want to go to Mogadishu as a tourist?
I have to say that Mogadishu has never been on my bucket list. No. Ever.
I mean, I saw it in the movie Black Hawk Down. I thought, I don't think I want to visit there.
I mean, hot sweat. There's
American influencer Sam Jones sparks outrage in Australia after stealing a terrified baby wombat from its mother. The influencer smiled as she grabbed the wombat while her friend laughed at the mother's reaction. Ha ha, look at the mother, it's chasing after her. It was pretty stupid, right? And, I'm no great sentimentalist. Call me a cynic if you will. But I think it was pretty horrible to do. And not something that the Australian authorities are going to take lightly, because they come down really hard. I mean, remember, did they not fine or jail Gino, or threaten to jail Gino for killing and eating a rat? Remember? I'm a Celebrity.
I hope they do. I mean, I watched the video, and is there any more useless profession that the human race has ever invented than social media influencer? No. Literally, I mean, it has to be the most, it's literally the bottom. I mean, anyway, but it's the stupidity, doing it just because they can film it and get engagement on social media. I hope the Australians throw the book at her and lock her up 6 months or something.
I think they should. I think at the end of the video she did put it back, or put it back on the side of the road. So that's something at least. But to do that is just shocking. Absolutely shocking.
But what I don't understand is what kind of human being even thinks of doing something like that.
Well, I think these people are vapid. There's something wrong with their brain.
Vapid is a really good description for them. All of mine, it's a good, all the other ones I can think of are expletives, and I probably shouldn't say them on Screw YouTube.
Yeah, I've got quite a command of the English language, even though I can't say it properly.
That's because you read so many books.
Well, that could be it. Read more, people. Reading is good for you.
and the thing with having an accent and being born with an accent is that it's not you that's got a funny accent; it's everybody else.
Indeed it is. I was walking, but the thing is, I've got a weird accent anyway because I spent too much time on the East Coast, growing up, and in Hong Kong, and so I spent time on the West Coast, time on the East Coast, and time in Hong Kong, and it really screwed up my accent because when I came back from Hong Kong, I couldn't understand people on the West Coast because they speak too quickly, and I'm like, I can't understand these people. These are not my people anymore, right? Because I was in a surface school in Hong Kong, So everybody was more or less English. There was only like 3 Scottish people. But, well, there's probably more, to be fair, but, we didn't hang about. We just hung about with people that we liked. So you're never going to hang about with another Scotsman. But anyway, so the thing is, I've got this weird accent, and I was walking down the street the other day, and this woman was walking past me, and she goes, "It's right windy, isn't it, son?" And it's quite gratifying that even at this age, I still get called son. But anyway, she goes, "It's right windy, isn't it, son?" And I goes, "Indeed it is." And I thought, oh my God, I fucking sound like a knob. I'm gonna get fucking lynched here. I can't go around speaking like that. I'm too posh for this neighbourhood. I know that sounds ridiculous to you, but seriously, I stick out like a fucking sore thumb when I open my mouth here.
You're talking to someone that grew up in Africa speaking English with an Africanized English accent, moved to Holland, went to an international school and picked up an Americanized international school accent, and then has spent 30 years in Brighton. So yeah, don't talk to me about screwed up accents. Anyway, let's move on.
Yes, indeed. Let's move on. Jeez, I'm doing it again. My son speaks with an American accent.
Yeah, I mean, TV.
Well,
TV, computer games.
He is actually autistic. Poland arrests Ukrainian woman convicted of organ trafficking. The woman is wanted by Interpol for participation in a criminal group that sold dozens of kidneys. 56, I think, was the number. 56 kidneys.
And yeah, so the whole accusations on social media of people like me who were saying that Ukraine was a massive hub for organ trafficking and all other sorts of disgusting things.
Yep.
Yeah, it's nice to be vindicated.
Yes. Ukraine, I'm sorry, but Ukraine was and probably still is a bit of a shithole. Because it keeps getting castigated by both the UN, the USA, and the EU on its terrible record.
Cesspit. I mean, it's an absolute cesspit. Child sexual exploitation, human trafficking, organ trafficking. They had freaking bio. I mean, why do you think the CIA put biolabs in there? Because the Ukrainians just didn't give a shit. You pay enough money to the right people, and you can do whatever the hell you want in Ukraine. It's not. I'm not. I never have been comfortable with my government, both my governments, because I'm half English and half Dutch, and the support that both of them have given unconditionally to this terrorist, violent, nasty narco state is disgusting. And it's probably, I don't know, maybe half of the money that we've given has probably been laundered back to the bloody politicians giving it to them.
Yep. Right. We're in your old stomping ground, South Africa. Well, you weren't in South Africa. I know you were in Zimbabwe, but the only store not looted in the South African mall is a bookstore. It says enough. And I mean, the guy gave a tour. It was a video. That was a clothes shop. As you can see, it's been completely wrecked. The bookstore is pristine. It hasn't been touched. Bargain books. It is completely pristine and not touched. Every pane of glass is fine. Everything inside it is untouched. Every other store has been wrecked.
The thing is that we're not allowed to make stereotypes.
No, we're not.
But the stereotypes in this case are making themselves.
Aren't they just? And
I'm not saying it's got nothing to do with race. It's got nothing to do. Well, no, exactly. But the fact that this actually happened is, yeah.
And moving on, strangely enough, the next slide just accidentally juxtaposed itself beside. So David Lammy's Soft Power Council spent £7,200 on tea and biscuits for one meeting. One meeting. How?
What?
How?
I don't know. Was it from Fortnum and Masons?
£7,200 on tea and biscuits.
The only way that I could see that working is if they ordered the tea and biscuits from either Harrods or Fortnum and Mason. But what is it? I mean, this is in addition to the 530,000 pounds that the FCDO has spent on food and drink and entertainment. And one does have to. I mean, Lammy does look like he needs to change his suits quite frequently. I mean, it's and then this next one, and then Lammy's saying it would be wrong for Putin to put conditions on. I mean, look, can someone take Lammy aside and explain to him that the losing side in a war has terms dictated to them?
Because then Nustier meeting comes out this way.
My problem with David Lammy is I can't. Once I start, I'm going to end up saying something that will get myself into lots of trouble, and I don't want to knock on the door.
Right, let's move on. So now we're on to Keith. Houses taking decades to be built, hours of paperwork drowning small businesses. The NHS costing taxpayers more but delivering less. I'm changing it. Bureaucracy abolished, hurdles removed, blockers called out. I don't fucking believe you. I just don't believe you.
I don't believe a word he says. Anyone who does is a fool. But also, one of my followers on Twitter, Paul the Plasterer, he put a brilliant reply to this post, saying, "Yeah, where are you going to get all the tradesmen from?" Because the simple fact, it's like their stupid plans for installing heat pumps. I asked last time I had my my boiler serviced. I was just talking to my gas boiler person and I was like, so what do you think about this, what the government is saying about we all have to get rid of our gas boilers and put heat pumps in? And he just laughed at me. He said there aren't enough engineers, both gas engineers and electric engineers, that can do it. He said to try and actually replace, he said it'd probably take 200 years.
Yeah, net zero's dead in the water, it really is. Right, so
the government has all these pie in the sky ideas, but they're not. They can't even fix the bloody roads.
Oh, the roads are
literally
shocking.
I mean, if to my mind, if a government, whether it's local government, national government, whatever, if the government can't fix the roads, and we have to once a year spend loads of money on an MOT to make sure our cars are roadworthy, how about the roads being car worthy? That would be nice.
That's a good point. Good point, Ed. Right. So NHS England being disbanded apparently and brought into government. So hold on a minute. Isn't really the NHS England a semi-government department anyway?
A quasi non-governmental organisation, darling. Quango for short.
Okay.
Look.
But really, well, how's it going to save money? You're still going to have to employ people to do the same things that it was doing, or do you not?
Well, exactly. All they're going to do is shuffle the 16,000 bureaucrats that they had working for NHS England over to the Department for Health, who are all incompetent fuckwits anyway. I mean, the thing of this, it's something, my ex was in and out of hospital. One of the things I noticed that at one point she had to go up to Kent to a hospital, and they're not inside the same hospital trust that the Brighton hospital is. And if you go into the toilets, they all have soap dispensers with the name of the trust on them. And the Brighton ones have the Brighton name, and the Kent ones have the... So instead of using economies of scale that you have with the NHS and buying soap dispensers, this is just a really small example, but it's indicative of the greater systemic problem, that instead of having one supplier of one type of fucking soap dispenser that goes onto every single hospital toilet in the country, they're spending far more money than they need to by having this whole trust system. It's indicative of how badly organized the whole thing. And all that there's going to happen with this latest change, it'll be more privatization through the back door.
Yeah. So why do they even need the name of the trust on the soap dispenser?
Exactly. And it's not just the soap. Precisely. But
all it needs to say is soap.
Exactly. And it's not just the soap dispensers.
With the gowns and everything, yeah.
And the government's never, ever since the NHS was created, the Tory party voted against creation of the NHS in 1946, 48. Can't remember the exact year. Anyway, but successive governments, they never really wanted it. Yeah. It was Bevan's idea, and it was, I mean, as Bevan conceived it, it was a bloody brilliant idea. But the doctors hated the idea.
Yeah, because they would lose money.
Yeah, exactly. Large sections of the government have always hated the idea, and it's been successive, just like progressively whittled away, and the whole system has been screwed up, because that's why they brought out national insurance in the first place.
Yeah.
And all I know is that anything Keir touches turns to shit. He's like the anti-Prince Midas.
We need to speed up. We're on slide 17. It's 10 past 10.
Christ, yeah, okay. Let's get our skates on. I'll try not to rant so much.
Trump on Greenland. Denmark is very far away. Very far away. A boat landed there 200 years ago or something, and they said they have rights to it. I don't know if that's true. I don't think it is, actually. We really need it for national. Hey, hold on a minute, Donald. Hold on a minute. Just wind in your neck there. Why do you need Denmark for national security? Not Denmark. Why do you need Greenland for national security reasons? Who the fuck is attacking you? Right? I mean, who's attacking you?
I can explain that with one word.
You don't?
Yeah. No, 2 words.
Sorry.
The Arctic. It's the Arctic. It's the northern sea routes.
Yeah.
And there are certain amounts of raw materials in Greenland, but the main reason is essentially that northern sea route and the Arctic Sea and that whole area, because it's actually a relatively small area.
Yeah.
And you have Russia there, you have China there, and
speed up. Come on. Cut to the chase.
Okay, I'm going to cut to the chase and say the thing about this that I find funny is that every time Trump mentions the word Greenland, the entire Danish government shits itself. Let's move on.
Labour MPs deal blow to free speech as they vote for banter police and pubs. The latest assault on free speech in Britain. MPs last night voted for a controversial new bill that could see an end to banter in pubs and public house staff having to monitor people's speech. Get to fuck. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I will say get to fuck times 2. Let's move on.
Hey,
because that one I could just rant about that for hours.
Yeah, this is nuts. Pennsylvania police are searching and asking people to tip information on a stranger terrorizing houses at night, claiming they're the box demon. The stranger could be seen appearing on door cameras, leaving empty boxes at residential doorstops. That's just nuts. It's a guy on a plate. You know, he's got a plate on his face, cut eye holes on it, and he's just up in the camera, you know, and then obviously leaves an empty box. Now, the police have since apparently said that we've tracked the guy down. It's not the box demon. Everything's okay, but we're not taking any action. What the fuck was all that about? It's probably the chief of police or something. That's just a weird one, isn't it?
It's yeah, I don't know. Maybe someone that has some mental health problems or something. Yeah. I'm glad the police have not they've not arrested some crazy guy that's just like I don't know. The thing is that this is the problem with the social media age. Without spending too much time on this one, it's making people do more and more crazy shit just to get seen on social media.
Yeah, I know.
It's like if you can, I mean, doing something like this just so that you can get social media famous for half an hour is something that people would do.
Yeah, the problem.
It's like that stupid woman with the bloody wombat.
Yeah. No, you're right. And speaking of social media, these these adverts are popping up over Europe apparently. Now, I don't know about you, right? But if I had the money, I'd go out and buy a Tesla on the back of these. I really would. I
Well-
think they'll do nothing but good for Musk. You know what they say? Any fucking publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, well, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Is
There you go.
the phrase, but it's there's I think it's Lions Led by Donkeys. There's an English NGO and 2 German NGOs that are actually paying for all of this stuff, because none of this stuff is cheap, and they've got all sorts of. There was a Swiss parade that had anti-Musk stuff in it. The Musk derangement
That's
syndrome.
not cheap to put that on.
Crazy.
To put that amount of people on, all in costume, all wearing those fancy hats, like that's not a cheap thing to organise.
Exactly, it's like those creepy red environmentalist weirdos.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is it's probably certain rich billionaires whose names we're not going to mention.
What, like Soros? Who we're doing?
Yeah,
we're not allowed to mention them.
Well, I don't know. I was just trying to be careful.
No, don't be careful about people like that. They're scum.
Well,
Soros, Swift. Who else?
Yeah. So, but as you said, and there's the really stupid one. There's a guy that bought a Tesla just to smash it up.
Oh, no, I saw that.
And it's like, but it's the same thing as J.K. Rowling gave a brilliant comment to someone that bought her books and burned them, and she's like, "Well, I still got the royalties, so
still got the royalties. Buy more.
So you still had to pay for the Tesla,
yeah. Well, exactly.
But this is, in a way, I don't know. Maybe this has been somehow deliberately done by Musk for A, publicity, and B, just to see the degeneration of all of these environmental loons that love their electric vehicles and want us all to buy electric vehicles, and they're smashing up electric vehicles and defacing them and vandalizing electric charging points just because it's Musk.
How much do you think that cost? All those, see, these headdresses aren't going to be cheap, mate. What are they made out of?
Switzerland's a bloody expensive country too.
Yeah, I know, and they're all wearing gowns and stuff. That's not a cheap thing, and there's a float as well with a big thing on it.
But what kind of demented fucking weirdos come up with, what do you have to be drinking or smoking to be sitting round a table with other similarly strange people and think, I know what we'll do. We'll have a big parade of people with middle fingers on their heads.
You know what?
Who the fuck comes up with that?
I think it's something like Eyes Wide Shut. You're sitting there with your $200 glass of whiskey or whatever and a cigar, thinking up stupid things like this. I think you're talking the ultimate in elitism here.
It's like some sort of humiliation ritual or some bullshit. Anyway, let's move on because we're going down rabbit holes.
UK economy unexpectedly contracted 0.1% in January. What was fucking unexpected about it? Was it unexpected by you, Ed?
Unexpected is the new safe and effective.
Oh, right, okay. Moving on.
It's just, it's just because if you actually do a search through the news for unexpected, you will see that there's lots of they're idiots. They're not expecting anything. We pay them loads of money. It's just like, I'm sorry, it's everyone is expecting it.
Yeah,
it's just media bullshit. This is why people need to come here once a week on a Friday and get the news from us, and just don't worry about watching all the other bullshit.
So,
apart from other podcasts.
Good questions here. Why is West Yorkshire Police giving out food, right, to Muslims who are, well, they won't be breaking their fast because it's still pretty light, judging by the sky. But why are they giving out food to Muslims? I don't understand that. Because
are they going to be handing out hot cross buns?
Well, exactly. That's the point. You know, what's going on here? Why are you giving food to people that normally eat?
Well, because the Prime Minister, I seem to recall him saying recently that the UK's biggest problem is Islamophobia and Putin.
No, it's not. And it's neither of those two. The UK's biggest problem is Keir Starmer.
Yes.
That's the UK's biggest problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one thing. Then this other one, the one next to this is really weird. So there's a sign there that reads "Filming in Progress," while a gang of men wearing Union Jacks and holding baseball bats are standing calmly outside the gate, with big cameras being set up. Right, that's a mosque. So somebody's making some kind of video or propaganda video or staging some kind of news event that's going to be shown at a later date, because I mean, is it a documentary? Are they reenacting the riots of last summer? I don't know, but it's a weird one, isn't it? It's just a weird one.
I hadn't seen that one, and it's the thing is that given the duplicitous, malign, awful people that run the country and exist in the media, and the politicized nature of policing and the judiciary, and all of these groups like Common Purpose and the Fabians that are kind of in the shadows, that seem to be organizing focal points for a lot of this malevolent nonsense that we have to put up with. It does. If you'd said there was people like 5-10 years ago that I was seeing that were kind of talking about how the country was being slowly destroyed and overrun and everything else, and I would have just thought, no, that's just bullshit, man. But the more I see, and it seems to have accelerated with the incoming last bunch of dickheads in Westminster. And it does seem like there is some sort of active plan to massively undermine and effectively destroy the fabric of our whole society. And it's not just us, it's Europe as well. And it's very...
Sorry.
No, go on.
I think we'll keep a watching brief on this one and see if it pops up again, you know, because it's just a weird one. I think we need to keep... We'll put that in the book and
save that screenshot, because there's a few really distinctive aspects of that screenshot that if we ever see it from the other side, we'll know it straight away.
It's actually a video, so I'll download the video. Right. Okay. Moving on. So I covered this in one of my daily briefings earlier on this week. Passengers were pooping in the aisles. I don't know if they actually were or not, but on their flight from Chicago, Illinois to Calcutta on March the 5th, was forced to return to Chicago as 11 out of 12 on board latrines were clogged. So this was the Air India flight, right, that had to turn back because the toilets were blocked on a 777. I mean, that's a that's a big aircraft, right? And it didn't even get halfway to India before they managed to block the toilets. So the motto is, and they called it, you know, the headline in, I think, the New York Post was "Curry in a Hurry." But the thing is, I think the motto is, don't fly to Air India, don't fly with Air India to India, because, you know, they're bringing open defecation onto their planes now.
That story is just so nasty. I want to move on.
I think we should.
It's disturbing my sense of equilibrium.
Here's one for you then. Sky News Australia. Climate activist.
I saw this one.
Tech billionaire Cannon Brooks said he felt deep internal conflict over his recent decision to purchase a private jet.
I bet he bought the fucking thing anyway.
Oh, he bought it. Of course he did. Because he's such an important person that he has to get around on his own, you know, and not be trifled with the minions. So I bought a private jet to further my anti-climate or my pro-climate message or whatever it is. Yeah, climate activist.
I think the less of this sort of person that we have in the world, and I'm not advocating that people go out and they're doing horrible things to people.
Yeah.
But this person who I never actually heard of until I saw the story.
Why do they
just represent it? That's everything that's wrong with the world.
Why do they always stand like that and look unkempt? You know, they always stand with their head tilted to one side.
Well, because they don't want to flash off the fact that they're tech billionaires, and they probably make more money in an hour than most people make in their whole lives. And you don't see them. It's like, oh, I'm going to support climate justice and end up investing in windmills, and I'm going to get big subsidies for those windmills. So I'm going to actually be a philanthro-capitalist and end up making more bloody money because I'm siphoning it off taxpayers around the world. Honestly, change the slider. I'm just going to start ranting.
Here's your favorite. Lou Elizondo, circa 2010, right? When he was supposed to be running the UFO desk, remember, right? Kent Island residents Lou Elizondo and John Robert have formed Never Ship Empty Incorporated, which has patented a new and more efficient way of moving containerized cargo by ship. But he's supposed to be working in the Pentagon, fucking running the UFO desk, the UAP desk. He's a lying bastard. That's what he is.
I thought we'd already established that.
Well, I had, but that's just that is just the icing on the cake.
You really have a bug up your ass about this guy, don't you?
I don't like these people. I don't like these people.
No, but I don't. I mean, I don't particularly like him either. But you really have a bug up your ass about him.
I don't like people that rip the piss out of people that are being gullible enough to believe in UFOs with no evidence. And these guys are fucking. I mean, have you seen the latest thing? This guy Gary Nolan. This guy's a Harvard physicist, right? And he's fucking started some corporation or something. And he's wanting 25 grand membership or something like that. And people are paying it. This guy's he's a fucking nutter. The guy is a nutter, right? Physicist or not, he's a nutter. And he's ripping people off left, right, and centre. This is just nuts. I really don't like it at all. I
agree. And I just want to send a message out there to all of the people who are into UFOs, and it's like that expression from the X-Files, I want to believe.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of, I still go back and I watch the Alien X-Files stories, but stop giving your money to these charlatan bastards. Stop, just think about it. Look, where I'm at with UFOs is I want to see one in the sky. I want it to land.
Parked on the fucking White House lawn.
I need to be able, no, not even that. I need to be able to throw. I'm going to say, look, can I just take a little pebble off Brighton Beach and just chuck it at your shields? Because I want to make sure it's not a hologram.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not believing it unless I actually fucking see it.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you something else that doesn't happen, right? And I might offend you here. Abduction is not a real thing. It doesn't happen. It's a dream state. It is paralysis. It's dream state paralysis. That's what it is. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, people, but unless you can prove to me that it's not, it doesn't happen. And the thing is, see these people that continually get abducted? Put a fucking camera in your bedroom and then show me you getting abducted. Then I'll maybe start thinking about believing.
Innit? Right. Moving on.
Karma's a bitch, isn't it?
I love this. This is one of the most satisfying things I have ever seen on Twitter, ever. Because I've had 12-hour bans, I've had 7-day bans, and I had an 18-month ban. And that was under Twitter when it was
I had a permanent suspension for 3 years, mate, and then I still got it back.
And so does anybody know what he actually posted to get himself locked?
That's a problem, because to get unlocked, you need to delete the post, don't you?
Oh man, I tell you what, if you could do an NFT, if anybody could get a screenshot of that post and you could do an NFT on it, you'd make absolute millions.
Does people still do that, NFTs?
I've seen a few.
Oh.
I know it's all stupid, but
yeah, I know it's crazy, isn't it?
People are stupid. I mean, people seem to be getting more stupid by the minute.
Dorsey had his account locked. That was a scream. Right, moving on. This is a crack. So a Muslim woman in France objects to toilet paper in Marks and Spencer, saying the pattern looks like the name Allah in Arabic. And apparently it does. So I did suggest that people should flock to Marks and Spencer's and buy the toilet roll before they take it off the shelves. You know what? It's fucking, who cares? See, if your God is so fucking precious, right, that you can't wipe your ass with his name, then your God's not worth it. Because he's not got a sense of humour. That's my view.
Well, if you're making a really good point, because if there is a God and the God realized that the humans had made a mistake and written his name on. Yeah. But the thing is that it's also it's one set of humans that don't actually follow his particular religion.
Exactly.
Now, surely if the God is the God that they claim, and the same as the Christian God, and he's munificent and he loves everybody and everything else, you would think he'd understand a mistake had been made or someone was having a joke.
Exactly, and it's like you go to France and you can buy a whiskey called Cock.
Maybe the problem is actually not the God, and maybe the problem is the person making the complaint. Because there's also, I'm sure that there are a whole bunch of Muslims out there who would see something like that and just think, fucking stupid Westerners, or something like that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like people that get soup and Chinese tattooed down their arm,
It's probably because they went in and were being an arrogant dickhead to the tattoo artist and being all like superior and everything else. And they said, I want blood on my thing. And he was just like, you're such a wanker. I'm just going to put digger. Because that would be me. If I was a Chinese tattoo artist and I had some idiot Westerner come in.
Westerner, because they'll be drunk.
And also just being nasty the way some people can be, particularly the sorts of people who do things like this.
Yeah.
And you would just think, screw you. I'm gonna put, and especially when it's Chinese lettering, you could put I'm a massive arsehole on there, and they would just think, whatever.
Yeah. I like it when well, no, I'm not saying I like it, but I like the reaction I get when I swear at people in Chinese, Chinese people, because they're like, whoa. And then they never talk anymore. They won't talk to you in Chinese after that because they think I can understand them. I can't really, but because you can swear at them, they go, no, he can speak Chinese. And they fucking clam up. Sylvester Stallone.
But does that mean that they're having a running commentary about us when?
Oh fuck yeah!
They think we don't understand.
Yeah,
them?
Of course they are. It's same with the other mob as well. When they're talking away, they're fucking dissing you all the time, mate. But all you need to do is pick up a couple of swear words and just say it under your breath. And once you've said it, they'll go, hold on, he spoke Arabic, or he spoke Chinese, or that was Japanese. He can fucking understand me. Because if you don't say it at them, just throw it out, don't know how, and they're like, he knows what we're talking about.
I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at the pepper, by the way.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's fucking good.
What's the point? Stop sending me this shit.
Sylvester loves it. Keep sending it. He does. He's kidding you on. He loves it. He fucking laps it up. Just keep sending it. He wants it. He really does. He does. He wants it. He told me. Right.
Okay.
The lesson for today is, if you're doing a fucking Photoshop, take the top off the pen and don't hold it upside down. You'd think a lawyer would know how to use a pen.
Yeah, but this is not just any lawyer we're talking about.
It sounded like a Marks and Spencer.
This is our munificent, most noble, kind, and great Keir Starmer, Sir Keir Starmer, Prime Minister. I mean, I just
Sorry.
He's just the most hated person in my brain at the moment. I thought I was capable. I don't know. I've hated a lot of politicians. I'm actually starting to hate this wanker more than Blair.
Oh yeah. You know what? At the time, Blair and New Labour and all that were quite a force, and they really the country went along with them. Well, it was only later on that we found out what an arsehole he was.
Yeah, I mean, he's a snake and he's really good at deceiving people, but at least he had a bit of personality.
He did,
and brains. I mean, this guy's like a wet dish rag. He's grey and boring like John Major, and as absolutely conniving and two-faced as Boris Johnson, and as dull as David Cameron.
He's as dull as dishwater. Right. Meme of the day. Imagine you love so much being governed that you want a government for your government.
Yeah, Musko posted this one. Yeah, it's just the other funny one. I'm not sure, did we include that one? Where I'm not, because I don't think I sent it to you, but there was a meme that I saw that had one of the purple head soy people, and the caption was and it was like a really miserable purple head looking soy person, right. And the caption was the face you make when you realize that the hammer and sickle meant you had to do some work. Oh, it's brilliant.
We're on the home run. We're at slide number 33. This is Neil deGrasse Tyson, who I am. I can't say I like.
I'm not seeing the slide.
No, I haven't put the slide up yet. I'm still talking, if you don't mind. I'm not sure that I like Neil deGrasse Tyson. In fact, I don't like Neil deGrasse Tyson because he is a bit of a twat, but he can be quite funny at times. But yeah, this is Neil deGrasse Tyson. Notice the flat earthers all around the globe. Please alert the authorities if tonight's total lunar eclipse looks like this. that is quite funny. I've got to give him that one.
I think he might have stolen that from someone else, or did someone else steal it from him?
Well, whatever.
It does. I mean, it does beg all sorts of questions.
Yeah. Well, I think flat Earth's been debunked now because the flat earthers went to Antarctica and saw the 24-hour sun. In the flat Earth model, you can't have a 24-hour sun.
Well, it's the question that I always ask if I meet someone and they tell me they're a flat earther. It's the one question I always ask them, which is why, when I was a kid, growing up in Africa, which on the round globe Earth theory, fact, is on near the equator, and the days were the same. We had the same amount of daylight right the way through the year.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you're in Zambia and it's 7 o'clock in the evening, it's pitch black outside. Doesn't matter whether it's December or July or whenever. And then when I came to Europe on holiday with my parents, we go to Spain.
11 o'clock.
Exactly. And my brain, I couldn't, because it's like, to get to sleep, I need it dark. And it's like, Mum, why can't we go outside? It's where you
and then it's late again.
Parents making us go to bed. It's light outside, and we can hear Spanish children having lots of fun outside.
Yeah.
But explain that to me, flat earthers. How does that work?
Right. I tell you what, I didn't put in the one about the tic tac on Mars, but
it's a video, guys. For the rabbit hole people,
I think
there's a video floating around on Twitter. Just do a search for it; you'll probably find it. There's a tic tac that the Curiosity or whatever found on Mars that is kind of funky.
Scale. It could be tiny. That could be a tiny bit of debris getting blown about with the wind.
Well, the rovers are not big, and their cameras. I mean, it didn't seem like a particularly wide angle shot.
Well, I don't know.
But that's still big. I don't know. They're little tic-tac flying life forms on Mars that we don't know about.
Or Devon
Maybe they're
Island?
like Martian bees or something.
Was it Devon Island?
Well, maybe it's the Martian equivalent of a bird.
Was it Devon Island?
What?
Devon Island. Well, they do.
Yeah, but even if it's on Earth, that is still a weird little flying capsule thing.
I mean, yeah. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. I have questions.
Well, in theory, no. I have questions.
There's no theory that works here, mate.
Why would
theory that works?
Maybe they had to put Braille on there to warn people.
Oh.
But then how would a blind person know that there was a sign there? I have many questions. Let's move on, or we'll spend the next 2 hours discussing all the questions we've got.
Right, that's one's a cracker. Woman sues Samsung for 1.8 million after a cell phone gets stuck inside her fufu. Now,
you could only do that in America.
Again, we have questions. Why? Why would you put a cell phone inside your fufu? And no wonder she's got a tear in her eye.
That's
just ridiculous. I'm going to see if I can get a Tesla on my ass.
The questions, the questions remain. My two big questions was she trying to hide said cell phone from her boyfriend or something?
Context is
or was she using said cell phone for gratification of a sexual nature? And if that's the case, surely it would be
keep texting me, baby.
Well, that's actually maybe that happened. I don't know. But if that's the case, someone should tell her about those remote, because there are those sex toys that you can get plugged into the internet and then you can control remotely. So someone should tell her about that.
Yeah, drop that. I thought that one was a bit peach.
Let's move on, or we're just going to get the channel into trouble.
So just remember, people, if you thought your day was going badly, I was a high-flying HR boss. Now I'm homeless in the Philippines jungle and fighting for life with a rotting foot. Brit's life unravels after being stabbed by girlfriend infected with monkeypox, lured into botched exorcism as he begs the UK for help. Imagine, I just beggars believe how unlucky. I mean, I thought I was unlucky, but this guy takes the biscuit.
I thought I had some pretty atrocious relationships, but that one takes the biscuit. And how did he get the mpox? Was he bitten by a monkey or something?
I have no idea. You know what? I just saw that and I thought, I'm not even going to go there because I could be there for.
You know that spending Did you actually see this on Twitter, or did you actually go to the Daily Mail website and find it?
I saw it on Twitter and I thought, I'm just going to take that and use it because I'm not going to go on the Daily Mail website and explore it because I will lose 3 hours of my life that I will never get back.
Well, the other thing, and this should be a warning to our viewers as well.
It could be fake.
Is that spending that obviously, but spending too much time on the Daily Mail website rots your brain. It's like it has the same effect on your brain as sugar does on your teeth.
Well, thank you, Nectaridus. You saying my microphone's too far away? Is that better?
Or is that me?
No, he's talking about me. He's talking about me. But anyway, right, moving on. I think this pretty much sums up Britain.
Yeah. Well, not all of us. There's some of us that are trying to put the fire out and scream at the person to wake up. But that person on the sofa represents a frighteningly large proportion of the population, mainly the ones that trust the BBC. I
tell you what I did do. I turned my sound down the other day because I thought I was too loud compared to Ed, but maybe I was wrong. I would appreciate it though rather than being nearly 2 hours into the show, if you could have let me know earlier, I would have fixed it.
Well, it's probably been telling us we've not been paying attention. Anyway, moving on.
I pay attention all the time, mate.
We're going to be here past midnight.
No, we're done. This is it. The last day's coming up.
Oh, is this the last one?
Yeah.
That's
not the last.
We can just.
Right.
Okay.
This is the last one.
Well, no, because I mean, I'm absolutely fine for another 15 minutes if people are still around.
This is tremendous. This is a tremendous excuse. I wasn't flashing my Willy Wonka. I was shoplifting sausages.
Okay.
He was spotted leaving his salami in the meat section of his local supermarket. Told cops he was stealing sausages when he wasn't. He was really just exposing himself.
There's an interesting parallel between the previous slide of Britain.
Yeah.
Because the people reading this shite are the ones that are sleeping on that sofa.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they are.
It's the biggest problem that the Western world has got is actually not its politicians, it's its so-called journalists. Because if the journalists were doing their job, their one fucking job that they've got, and actually informing the populace of what was important rather than whatever the current narrative that they're supposed to be spouting is, then maybe we wouldn't be sitting on a burning sofa.
That's a good point, mate. That's a good point. Right. What else have we got to cover? Is there anything else you want to bring up?
Let me have a quick look at the Monkey Palace.
So, I'm just trying to think what's happened today. Oh, God.
I've just seen it. Olga's just posted a meme. Let's see if we can. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, you should be able to. Share it. Right, hold on. Bear with me. Don't laugh too much. Get it up. Oh. Cancel. Hold on. Cancel. Need the producer.
One day you're going to say that and someone is going to offer to help.
Well, hey. Yeah, they could. Oh, that's the wrong one.
He's not lying when he says he needs a producer. Look, if it's too much hassle, don't worry.
Too much hassle. Nothing's too much hassle for you, mate. Right, hold on. Let's do it.
Seems like it's too much hassle.
Yeah, I think it might be. I don't understand what's going on here. Hold on. All right. Okay. Let's. No. Oh no. No, I can't.
Don't worry about it.
I can't work it.
No, it's fine.
I don't know what's gone wrong.
Well, okay, I'll describe it to you. It's a picture of a conference room in Ukraine with everyone's favorite Green Goblin and Podolyak and a bunch of other people two of them in suits, and the Goblin is saying to his minion, "What kind of conclusions have you made in Kursk?" And the minion replies, "We can use the pipe to run to Europe." Oh dear!
He's right though, because they would never be able to use that pipe if the sanctions hadn't been applied, because there would have been gas in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other thing that we haven't totally talked about is the carny who's taken over the circus that is Canada.
Yeah, so I don't know. I have mixed feelings because I like mocking Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. I mean, my blackface meme was one of my earliest and favorites, and I did so many head replacements on Castro's spawn that I ended up getting bored with it. And Carney's just, he's a bit like Starmer, but I think he's a bit worse. I think the Canadians, if it's actually possible, the poor Canadian cousins are in even more deep shit than we are.
I mean, what did he do with the Bank of England? He screwed up.
It was a disaster. I mean, he's got 3 passports. The first visit that he's making, he's got this whole thing with Trump about tariffs. Where's he going first? Europe. And no, not.
Hold on a minute to address something going on in the chat just now. And I'm quite disappointed in you, Nectaridas, and you, Julie, because both Ed and I did cover the point that, yes, Root has confirmed that NATO membership for Ukraine is completely off the table. We did mention this. Did we not, Ed?
Yep.
Yeah. So
and also
attention.
His name is Rutte.
Rutte.
Root.
Rutte.
Rutte works as well,
Rutte.
but it's not root.
Rutte.
I mean, I understand that, but no, because this is the problem with Dutch is the ch and the r, and I can't do them. It's basically they roll their r's and their g's, and I have uncles that when they talk, they sound like they're actually bringing up phlegm. But Rutte is probably the best equivalent.
Oh, so Julie now says she's been in and out of the kitchen, so she's actually been making her dinner while she's been listening to us. So that's
anyway,
her excuse. That's her excuse.
But also, just as a point of principle, can you not chastise the bloody audience, please?
Come on, it's one of the few pleasures I have left in life.
Which is okay. Yeah, well, if you want more people to watch you, maybe don't chastise them.
Sorry, Mr. Ed. Sorry, Mr. Ed.
It's just a friendly suggestion.
Nectarius is a good lad. He not only has he donated, one of the only ones that's donated live in the last couple of weeks, and I'm looking at the rest of you. Yes, I am, apart from the ones that donate offline. But yes, Nectarius says, I grovel before thee, Sarge, in my humble grovel. He just groveled twice in a sentence. Oh, he's groveled.
We don't have a big audience, but they're the best audience.
They are quite. I do.
I tell you what, I'd take this lot over 1,000 random numbskulls spouting nonsense in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Because if you watch some YouTube videos, I have to turn the chat off because you wonder if any of them are actually watching the bloody video.
Oh, Samantha Ann Tyndall. That's a full name. My God, Trump is a disaster. Well, is he or isn't he? I don't know. Do you think Trump's a disaster?
I think that Kamala Harris would have been more of a disaster. I think that Trump. I think as far as Israel goes, I think there's certain things that Trump has done that I vehemently disagree with, and I'm waiting to see if some of the good things he's doing, like shutting down USAID and a lot of the Doge stuff that Elon is doing and things like that, and also potentially just talking to the Russians. I mean, my first point is that I would much rather have, because if we'd had Kamala Harris, she wouldn't be talking to the Russians. And the most dangerous times that we've had in the last 100 years on this planet have been precisely. And it doesn't matter what's going on. The American and Russian leaders have to be willing to communicate with each other. His whole efficiency in government, I mean, a lot of the stuff with Doge, there's an awful lot of money that's, well, if you look at some of the programs that this money is being used for, they were actually working against all of us. They weren't just working against the US. It was impacting Europe. It was definitely impacting Ukraine. I mean, I just look at the The drop in the number of NAFO idiots that I have to deal with on Twitter is actually worth it just on its own.
It's amazing. It's amazing the difference it's made on Twitter.
And also, there seems to be a lot less of those stonehead retards. Or maybe I've actually just managed to finally block them all.
Well, they're not part of NAFO anyway.
Yeah, there was definitely overlap. But a lot of the NAFOids are Eastern Europeans.
A lot of them
like Estonians. It's all the Chihuahuas. It's the Estonians, the Latvians, and the Lithuanians who have their particular venom for the Vatniks. And it's... But so, back onto Trump.
Yeah.
Just in the last 5 minutes. For me, the jury's out. But he's doing some good things. He seems to be playing a much more intelligent game. If you look at what he did with Kellogg when he first was inaugurated, and he sent Kellogg to Europe to talk to the Europeans, and the Europeans were all freaking out, and Kellogg was like, yeah, no, don't worry, he's going to go along with it. And then he turned around and did something else, and now I don't know how much of...
Do you think he's underestimating Putin?
He might be.
Do you think he's trying to play Putin, but really underestimating how far ahead Putin is on the chessboard?
Well, maybe. But the thing is that he could also, because we don't know what he and Putin have been discussing. I mean, there's been outlines of the conversation, and actually the first conversation that they had, the vast majority of time that they spent was not talking about Ukraine. It was talking about the de-dollarization, because one of his big concerns is the fact that the BRICS and stuff are circumventing the dollar, and that would screw the American economy. So, but we don't know the substance of that.
Yeah.
And he could also... The thing is that Trump knows that he has to play to the home market as well, and not just the people who agree with him, but the people who disagree with him to a certain extent as well. And there's probably a bunch of things that he's not able to say publicly that he might be saying to particularly Putin in private. And I don't know how much of what he's doing is actually real. I mean, the stuff that he's doing in the Middle East is a bit of a disaster area, and we're on the brink of a war between Israel.
The problem with America, right, is the Israeli lobby is just massive, and that lobby is just massive, and it doesn't matter what side of government you're in, you're going to be controlled by it, and this is a major flaw in American politics.
It's a major flaw in Western politics, because we have Labour Friends of Israel, who have it was them that chose the leader of the Labour Party, because they didn't like the last one, so they got rid of him because he wasn't sufficiently devoted to Israel, and the new one is utterly devoted to Israel, as we've seen.
Yes.
So it's not just a problem in the United States, and this has got nothing to do with religion or persecuted religious groups. We're talking about political influence benefiting a foreign country that seems to be so pervasive that that country will do things against its own interests in order to support a foreign country, which
just boggles the mind.
It's if it was any other country. If you look at how spastic they were going about Russian interference and everything, I mean, even Starmer was it yesterday, in his nasty nasally speech that he gave about Russia threatening Britain's air and water and land and chickens or whatever the fuck he was talking about.
Robin asks, why has such a tiny country got so much power? And I don't think it's the country itself that has the power. Robin, I think if I could refer you back to some of our rabbit holes in particular, particularly the one where we dug into what did we call them?
Oh, I can't
Not
remember.
the
We've done so many
Illuminati, it's like, but yeah, we dug.
Just look through the list.
Yeah.
But just as a side note, not referencing our rabbit holes,
Yeah.
In all of my conspiracy theory rabbit hole research, one of the books that helped me understand this particular country that we're talking about and how they work the best is a book, and I'm still not 100% sure if it was a genuine book, but I learned a lot from it. It's called By Way of Deception by an author called Viktor Ostrovsky, who it ended up in Canada, effectively, and he was a former Mossad case officer, and he wrote the book, and it's not particularly easy to get hold of. I mean, it might be easier now with Kindle versions and stuff.
Yeah.
But if people are really interested in the subject and you haven't heard of that book before, read it, because it's really good. And it's the kind of, we have to be really careful what we say, because this is one of those subjects that would just get you shut down straight away. I mean,
nobility. I think we dug into quite a few things.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it was the black nobility rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But if you look at how Trump is towards, the guy's talking about taking over Greenland, and he's renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and he's chucked news reporters out of the White House because they wouldn't refer to it as the Gulf of America.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he's kowtowing to this Middle Eastern nation it's mind-boggling. And all of his, it was the same thing with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., because during the Rona, I was a massive fan of RFK Jr. because he was just speaking truth to power and talking a lot of sense and making a lot of sense. And he seemed to have had a lot of integrity and stuff. And then as soon as October the 7th happened, he just turned into this raging, bloodthirsty Zionist. And I was shocked. I was like, whoa, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Bloody hell. I thought no. Anyway. But it's an emotive subject, but you can't deny the control that exists.
Yeah. And you can't criticize it.
Mm-mm.
You just can't do it. Because you'll get hammered. No matter where you go, you'll get hammered.
Well, I mean, we're okay because we've got a small channel with a dedicated audience, and they know what we're like.
Yeah.
But if we were a much bigger channel,
oh yeah,
we just even saying what we've said thus far would land us in the deepest amount of shit.
What about the guy that got killed in Austin, the InfoWars editor guy?
I know, I heard about that. It was awful. I mean, you've got to feel for his family and the whole InfoWars crew. Must be, I mean, then they've really been going after them. They've got lawfare going on against Alex Jones, against his parents. There's other people.
Jones said that he thinks that Ukraine have got a thing against them, and because he's on the list, and he thinks that other guy was on the list as well. Now, it's quite hard to actually find out who's on the list, because we know there's 4,000 journalists on Ukraine's list, but it's very difficult to actually find.
Is that the mirror, the mirror nuts?
Yeah, I found
list.
the site.
Isn't that online?
Yeah, the site's online, but finding the list is a nightmare. Because it's all in freaking Ukrainian. You've got to translate it with Google.
Yeah. Now, I don't know, because Alex Jones, I've always had questions about him. I've learned, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I've learned from him. I mean, his exposure of Bohemian Grove.
I think that was genuine. I think the Bohemian Grove thing was 100% genuine. That was him just doing what he did, and it was real, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of what's occurred after that has been playing to the audience, maybe.
Yeah, and it's also, he never criticizes the thing that may not be criticized.
Yeah.
It's and the thing with that is, and I realized that when I was doing my 9/11 research back in the day, and this is the early 2000s I'm talking about. And when you really properly research 9/11, there are a lot of threads that lead back to a certain Middle Eastern country, lots and lots and lots of them. And the minute you go onto an online forum or discussion group or whatever, and you start talking about that stuff,
you only need to look at the name of the guy that owned the buildings.
yeah.
And then there was
or the name of the guy that controlled the security of the airports.
Yeah. Or the people that were dancing on top of the van.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on.
There's so many threads, and it's the one direction. But
if it was done,
also,
I think it was done in concert with the government.
It's the same as the JFK assassination. To say that there was just one person or one group, things like that don't happen. The world is too complicated. Things like that don't happen because one shadowy Dr. Evil is sitting in a fucking cave somewhere directing everything. It doesn't work like that.
It had nothing to do with him. I firmly believe it had absolutely nothing to do with him.
With who specifically?
Bin Laden.
Oh no, absolutely not. Bin Laden was a CIA patsy.
Yeah,
I mean, Bin Laden was just like
he was an old agent.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
He was an agent that they used, abused, and could quite gracefully get rid of by targeting them with that.
And he's probably like Zelensky's an actor playing a role.
Yeah.
I mean, if you actually look at Zelensky, his whole, I mean, he's an actor. His whole thing is he's a showman. That's why he changed into his bloody military outfit. But he also has the same tendencies that actors have of being very egotistical, narcissistic, and having quite fragile personalities and requiring a lot of...
Hold on. Robin, who didn't have 3 names? Osama did have 3 names. He did. He had 3 names, mate. Osama bin Laden. That's 3 names.
No, it's not.
Is it not? Bin Laden?
No,
it's always separated.
No, Bin is like Van. It's like if you have a Dutch name, you would have Van. In German, it would be Von or von der Leyen. It's a I don't know. There's a name. There's an actual linguistic name for it. I'm not sure what it is, but it's like saying Osama of someone. That's what the Van means in Dutch.
Oh, okay.
But he probably had more names than that. I mean, his CIA code name was Tim Osman.
Yeah.
Anyway, right. It's now 23:07, so I reckon that we should probably let these poor people go to bed.
Yeah, I think we've done the job.
It's been a good show, though. It's been a lot of fun.
And
we've still got people in chat, so well done for sticking with us, guys.
Yes, thank you for hanging around. And you know what? We're here every Thursday and Friday. Thursday we do rabbit holes when we dig into conspiracies, cryptids, UFOs. It could be anything. You know, last week it was a KGB.
We didn't talk about that.
What?
Next week's rabbit hole, what are we doing?
What do you want to do? What would you like to do?
There was that story that I sent you on WhatsApp that's more traditionally, because we did KGB last week.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the moose rack that was found in frozen muck 70 feet below the surface. There was that one.
Do out of place artifacts? Have we done that before?
Oh no, Taos Cave.
Oh, the Taos Cave.
Yeah.
Right.
There's something about Taos Cave that doesn't add up. The story goes that deep within this underground labyrinth in Ecuador, hidden behind twisting tunnels and chambers, there exists a metal library, books forged from unknown alloys covered in symbols that don't match any known writing system. Explorer Juan Moritz claimed to have seen it in 1969, describing what would be an ancient archive of lost knowledge, possibly from a civilization predating everything we've been told about human history. Photos were taken, but the moment this discovery gained attention, everything changed. Let's do that.
Okay. We'll do that next week. What's it called?
Taos Cave.
Yeah,
or Taos?
The
first thing we have to do is how to fucking pronounce it.
Taos, I think. That's not a very catchy title. Only think of something. Anyway, thank you very much, people, for hanging around. What we're playing out with, Orlan?
Now we're going to do the all-in. Yeah, no, that's the yeah. We have to finish it off properly.
Yeah, sorry. Let me just cue it up then. Where was it?
But thank you for joining us, guys. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it.
Indeed, been a lot of fun. I've had a good night.
Cathartic. I had a week off last week, and I was just like, I didn't feel right because I need to get this shit out of my system once a week.
It's not the same doing it on your own. I tried to get Ben in, but he was too busy building Lego or some nonsense. It's like such a
Listen, don't knock Lego builders. Building Lego is a good escape, but we're not here to escape. This show is about confronting the world.
Indeed, it is. It's about it's a bit about confronting yourself as well, and challenging your own thoughts and
absolutely.
Because
we don't always agree.
We certainly don't. But yeah, we've pretty much agreed tonight, to be fair. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good, and we won't keep you any longer. We won't bore you. Remember, like, share, subscribe if you liked it. If you didn't, what the fuck are you still doing here? I mean, really? Come on. That's 2 hours of piss you've listened to. And if you can, always think about dropping me a little dash at ko-fi.com/Sergeant Grumpy, or join the channel. It's cheap. You can join from as little as 99p or whatever it is. It only takes it once a month.
Don't forget Patreon. I support John on Patreon, actually.
Patreon? No, you don't. I don't have a Patreon account, mate.
Didn't you?
No, so I don't know who the fuck you're supporting, but it's not me.
I better check that. It was you.
I don't have a Patreon.
Johnny Vedmore.
What?
No, I'm thinking about Johnny Vedmore. I'm getting you confused with Johnny Vedmore, so you should feel honoured.
Oh,
anyway, let's just fuck off now, because otherwise we're just going to keep going.
Maybe you should be supporting me on Ko-fi. Right. Okay, now he's called himself out. But anyway, as always, people, it's been great for you.